I feel like we've still got a couple years. I feel like where it's still kind of like prime time to start a podcast and get in. But 4 years, 5 years down the road, like you're going to have these big media companies that are just going to dominate the consumption.
Yeah.
I mean, they're probably going to account for 95% of the consumption out there.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Podcast Success Secrets. On this episode, we're going to be talking about industry, things that's going on in the podcast industry. I don't think we've done an episode like this for a while. Probably like been over a month, right?
Probably, yeah.
And honestly, like a lot of the stuff that happens in the industry is like repetitive. There's always a new app or always a new platform, and the old ones always fade and a few stay around. But there's some interesting stuff that I want to talk about. Some things being around podcast advertising, which this could be a whole nother episode, actually. It's a big topic.
Yeah.
I have a lot of opinions on podcast advertising. Content creation, kind of like ideas. I want to kind of brainstorm about that, like what people can do to make content easy. I made a post about a content style this morning that was interesting, that I was thinking about, that I think most people don't think about. So it's kind of what I'm doing on this right now. I mean, I'm teasing right now, just hard. Like I'm not revealing the goods. And then we're going to talk about, other media, big media companies and what they're doing in the podcasting space, etc. So with that, we have someone who's going to join us. What's up in your world, Ryan? Anything new you're seeing in the podcast industry? Or
no, I mean, I'm ready to dive into those topics. I mean, I spent about an hour today reading about some new stuff in the ad tech space. So, yeah. Ready.
What was that?
How the new updates with iOS 14 is going to impact that ad industry overall, and then what effect, if any, does that have into podcasting?
Yeah, so we can just dive into that. The reason I wanted to talk about podcast ads, because someone wrote an article about this, and I've kind of always thought this, but I've never heard anyone say this. There's a lot of brands, because there's another article about a lot of more brands want to advertise on podcasts now. But I feel like it's actually not the best advertising platform. I don't feel like it's a good...
Why is that?
Depending on how much you have to pay for a customer and how much kind of shows are available, I think, for certain demographics. I don't think it's... when you compare it to all the other ad platforms out there, I mean, it depends. For certain niches, it could be interesting. But overall, I don't think it's the most lucrative opportunity for ads. I don't know what your opinion is on that, but
I mean, I think there's different types of advertising, right? There's direct response, right, where you're trying to elicit something from that person, and then there's what you see. You see a lot of sponsor type advertising done in a way that their goal isn't. Well, it's in some way their goal, but their goal isn't to get someone to purchase directly from hearing that ad. A lot of these companies, they have budgets that enable them to just do branding plays. So their whole goal is to just keep indoctrinating you with their name, their brand, their message. And that's why they do podcast advertising.
Yeah. And I mean, it could be more lucrative based off of what you were saying before, with the ad tech, which we can dive into iOS 13, 14. I don't even know. I'm not an Apple user.
I would say it's going to make it less lucrative, not more lucrative, because there's going to be less inventory available. Thus, it's going to be more expensive.
More lucrative for the podcaster, I was thinking, not for the brand.
Yes.
So we could talk about that. Yeah. What did you kind of see that point that kind of stuck out to you?
So if you're not aware, in iOS 14, there's been a lot of buzz on how you'll basically have to opt in to see personalized ads on your phone within each specific app. So, for example, if you download the Facebook app or you get a new phone that comes out with Facebook, when you open that app, you're going to have to opt in. They call it an explicit opt-in. Historically, this was what they call an explicit opt-out, meaning you would have to go into your settings, drill down deep, and literally find a place to say, I don't want to see ads basically anymore, and enable that setting. Now they're flipping it to where it's going to be on by default. And if you want to see ads, then you have to say I don't remember the exact verbiage, but yes, I want to see personalized ads in this app. And that'll be specific to every single app on an iOS device, starting with iOS 14, which just got pushed back to early Q1 2021. So when that's rolling out, then it's going to be an explicit opt-in, and that's going to change. I think it's going to drive prices up, obviously, on Facebook ads themselves, because even Facebook themselves said that with this update, 50% of their revenue could be gone. 50% of that the whole company brings in could be gone, and it might not make sense for them to even have an iOS version of Facebook anymore. So, which I don't think they would do, but they're just trying to drive home a point. So I think that's going to play into podcasting, because it's going to drive more advertisers to look for podcast sponsors. So I think that means that CPMs are going to go up in podcast world, right? That
in all worlds, like Facebook is probably a big, like, how much revenue do they make from their advertising every year? Probably tens of billions, maybe hundreds.
Yeah, look at their revenue and divide it by
100 divided by 100%.
So yeah, but I mean, it's going to make CPMs go up, and I think that's going to do two things. One, that's more money for those big podcasts out there that are already doing that are already sponsor based. A lot of the people in our market that we work with, it doesn't make sense for them to do this type of stuff. But what it is going to do is it's also going to drive brands down to lower tier shows, lower tier meaning less downloads. Whereas before, they wouldn't go after a show that had less than 100,000 downloads a month. For example, now they might entertain shows that have 50,000 downloads a month, because there's going to be more advertisers coming in and less inventory podcast to advertise on. So I think that's going to be one of the probably many ways that a change like that is going to impact the podcast space.
And yeah, I think what we were talking about, or what we kind of picked up from that article, is that the big thing is that businesses are going to have to produce their own content more, because they can't really rely on the insane gift that was Facebook ads.
Yep.
Because I think that's one thing that I don't like too much about. And when I was talking about the ad industry, I didn't mean for brands, I meant for podcast. So growing podcasts through ads. The thing with Facebook, because it was all centralized, you had huge distribution, and you just kind of had a lot of knowledge or data, because it was all kind of centralized. Like, who doesn't use Facebook? But like podcast, a lot of the ad platforms, they're all like, they're separated. They have different demographics and users, and you can, kind of tap out of it for a while. Like, I know recently I was reading an article that Pocket Cast, is either Pocket Cast or Overcast. They're sold out till November on their ad slots. It might be Overcast. I think we've used it before.
Yep.
All their slots, which is like sucks for an ad platform that it's like so dynamic. It's not like consistent. So that I think that's the big piece. Brands producing more organic content to make sales, promote their products.
Yeah. So those brands that are reliant on paid media for revenue, right? All their revenue is there's plenty of companies out there. Some of our clients are heavily reliant on paid media, and this is going to push people more back to organic content as a way to reach their audience, cultivate new leads, and ultimately generate revenue, which is awesome for us.
Yeah. Well, I think that segues into one of the next topics I want to talk about. Just content in general and podcast content. It's something I've been studying more. Just using Google and seeing like what ideas people have out there for content types. And I have I took a lot of notes today on different types of content. But one that I know is the most universal, and it's kind of what we're doing here. A blog called it this. I don't know if it's the right word, but they call it newsjacking. I don't know if you've ever heard of that term, newsjacking.
No.
But if you think about it, it's pretty much what every other big media or news company does. They just take other people's stories, other people's ideas, other people's results, etc., and they just spin it, or they just present it on a platform in a unique way. I think anyone who's like in a pinch for content, or is just like wants to know what kind of content to do, just talk about what news is going on in your industry. I think that's an interesting thing. So.
Yeah, it's just opinion-based content at that point.
Yeah.
Your opinion YouTube, on X topic.
On YouTube, it's weird, like Reacts content. I would never think that that's a thing. Like, it's literally like there's a few channels I've seen, like comedy channels, where it's just them watching other comedy shows and laughing, and people like that perspective more. I don't get it.
Yeah, that's there's some weird stuff out there that takes off.
Yeah. And I know on Twitch, a big portion of the biggest streamers, like the just chatting streamers, like most of their stream, they're just literally browsing the internet, but they're doing it with a community. And they're
and as I thought about that, people watching other people watch comedy shows, like think about like if you watch a comedy show by yourself versus if you watch it with somebody, like you laugh way more if there's somebody else in the room with you. You know what I mean? They probably want like that aspect of it.
I think it's almost because I watch some people who just watch other stuff online, some other streamers, and it's almost because you feel like you're their friend, that you're just experiencing it with them in that moment. And there was another article on Pod News that talked about 38% of Americans listen to podcasts to improve their mood, and how with the pandemic, there's been a bigger trend in people listening to podcasts to avoid loneliness.
Yep.
A lot more relationship podcasts, like 145% increase in daily active users for relationship podcasts since March.
Because everybody's stuck at home. Either they're with somebody or they're all alone right now, which is going to be in the next few years is going to be huge for mental health.
Yeah, but I mean, just even thinking about podcast content in general, why people listen, like to improve their mood or to make themselves feel better, or for mindfulness, like that. It's good to know that and how you do your content, so people are actually feel like they're getting something out of it. So.
Yep. So what else did you learn? What other type of content types, as you called it?
So pretty much, like a lot of, and you have to be big to do this, but a cool one is like PO box opening, either videos or streams. Like if you have a fan base, announce that you're going to do like a PO box opening. They can send whatever they want, say whatever they want, whether it's a written note or a gift, and that you do a PO box opening stream.
The podcast version of that is reading ratings and reviews.
Yes, that is a podcast version of that. And a lot of people do that, like question and answers, reading ratings and reviews.
Yeah, it's a good thing to get into to build some affinity with your audience, is to like spend the first 2-3 minutes of a show like reading some ratings and reviews. If you have, one, builds affinity, you call out those people, and two, you're encouraging people to go leave a rating and review.
Yeah, 100%. And selfishly, actually, I was actually looking at ideas for live streams, not more than podcast. But I'm sure the pieces of it can be used. Nate, people do that for YouTube, 100%. Let me bring Lewis in. Yo.
Oh,
we got
going on, guys?
Real estate here. We're really tight. You're just
real.
shorter than all of us, by the way.
I thanks for pointing that out.
we're getting the nostril view. I love it.
What's up, dude?
Man?
What's going on, guys? How you been?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Yeah. So you missed the best parts, dude.
What I missed.
We were just talking about, podcast advertisement, the state of it, what we think about it. Do you have some that?
Oh man, like all kinds of crazy shit. But well, first of all, let me hear what you guys are talking about. So before
So there's two sides to it. Obviously, as a brand wanting to advertise on podcasts, but also how can a podcast grow with ads? Using ad platforms as well.
Like Podcorn.
What's that?
Yep. Yeah, like Podcorn. But one of the things we really spent time talking about was what's happening with iOS 14 and how it's going to be explicit opt-in, and how that's going to turn, it's going to create more demand to advertise on podcasts, and it's probably going to drive CPMs up, and it's also going to drive brands to advertise on smaller podcasts that they wouldn't have considered in the past, because inventory is going to be eaten up.
Oh, I didn't know about this whole iOS 14 update. That's dope.
Yeah. I'll send you an article. It's the short version, so people don't have to hear it again.
They're going to look at it, but it's kind of wordy. I don't know if it'll be.
Yeah, it's going to go to an explicit opt-in. So like when you open the Facebook app, you're going to have to say, yes, I want to see ads, instead of going in your, before you had to go in your settings, and it's going to be like that on every app.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that's odd.
So Facebook said it's going to potentially cut their revenue by 50%.
but all apps.
Really?
Like it's all
Yeah.
apps. Like even the ones scammy ones that have like the games with the banners and shit. You know,
I hate
like
those.
they're gonna have to figure out how to
Yeah.
monetize more.
That is interesting. So you're right. Yeah, it's going to push more people because like podcasting is like
so let me clarify one thing.
like a free
You'll
word.
still see ads. You won't see personalized ads.
Oh, so like retargeting stuff? You mean? Like,
Exactly. Yes.
oh, that sucks. I like those ads.
Yeah. So
Oh, it had to do with the
ads.
pixel. Okay, and like tracking data. I think. Yeah.
yeah, it's tracking. Yeah.
So yeah, interesting with Overcast too. So you guys know what happened to Overcast?
They
You know what they're
sold
doing?
out on ads. Or
They so like now they have some update that's basically saying if you have tracking, like tracking stuff on your podcast, they're gonna flag your podcast. It's gonna have like a yellow, like basically like an
oh, you
outline.
mean like
for, hey,
in your RSS feed?
like when you go to like select a podcast to subscribe, it's like this podcast has tracking, and they'll be able to see. It'll just tell listeners like, hey, we're tracking you.
Like a chartable suffix in your feed.
Yeah,
Is that what- okay.
exactly. I have a chartable suffix in my feed. I think I have one more too. I don't know, for one of my shows. But if you have third party tracking, it's going to be letting listeners know that, hey, this podcast has tracking, and just like kind of like bringing it to the light, right? Like what they're doing with Facebook.
Is that
That's-
there right now? Like if you go to your podcast and Overcast, it shows that.
That's what they're saying. That's the new update. Like I downloaded the app last night to see what was going on, but like it didn't give me. It gave me the updated version from 3 months ago. It didn't give me the updated version that's like the one that happened like this week or a week ago.
I feel like all that's going to do is confuse people. They're going to be like, why the hell is this one yellow, but all the other ones are white?
Yeah. It's really interesting. And then sporadically, my thought was going to Podcorn. What people are doing on there, what's interesting, is they're actually paying for interviews. So there's other podcast shows on there that are saying, hey, like, if you interview me, I'll pay you. So like they're
I've been telling people to do that for a while, but a lot of people are hesitant because they're like, oh, that's not what people do. But I'm like, I mean, if you position it as, hey, like if you're going to interview me and you tell me like, hey, I got, 2,000, 3,000 listeners every episode, and you position it correctly, I'll be like, yeah, I'll pay you. Like that's better than me doing an ad. If I get to promote something,
I mean, a lot of shows do that, right? It's not really like you asking, but you've got like Entrepreneur on Fire, Screw the 9 to 5, a bunch of shows like that where it's like it's paid.
Yeah, that's their
interview.
model.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's a good model if you can do it. But I mean, you gotta
so in regards to the ad thing, I was saying too. Now I think brands are going to focus more on doing their own content, doing their own shows.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about? I was looking at the top 20 podcast, and like, it's all like the big media companies, which I mean is granted they have the biggest distribution. They have a new show. But it's like New York Times and like
iHeartMedia,
and all these other newspapers are trying to get into it now. How does it make you feel?
Oh gosh, and like it's kind of like there needs to be two. There needs to be like the media companies, and then there needs to be like another one that has like the normal people,
like
individuals. Yeah, because like of course you're gonna get destroyed if you.
Yeah, it's almost like if the Billboard charts showed. Well, actually, never mind. But it's a bad example.
Well, like indie films.
No.
Yeah. I feel like we've still got a couple years. I feel like where it's still kind of like prime time to start a podcast and get in, but 4 years, 5 years down the road, like you're going to have these big media companies that are just going to dominate the consumption. I mean, they're probably going to account for 95% of the consumption out there.
And it's going to be a trend where, because Spotify got Joe Rogan, where other, like Call Her Daddy was another big one, where they like podcasts get bought out. Like if you have a unique idea and you're not like monetizing it well, like people will sell their show in a day.
Yeah. Think about it. It's like they're just the company like that. You just buy attention. Like let's just buy this guy or girl. Like they're doing amazing work already. So interesting what you said about Joe Rogan. They actually have been censoring some of his stuff apparently.
Yeah, their stock went down like 5 billion, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, what's weird though is like it's been like a week, and I checked like yesterday or a day or two ago, and he hasn't even addressed it. So I'm thinking, because it still hasn't been like a full transition where the podcast is only on Spotify. I think that happens like
December.
December. Like,
Yeah.
so I'll wait till that happens. Because then if it ends up being like new shows be taken down, then it's kind of sketchy. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm sure they crossed that bridge in the contract. That's not something they would leave out. So that's interesting. But I think the bad part about like Spotify buying Joe Rogan and it being exclusive is the fact that it's exclusive. And you're going to have all these platforms trying to buy shows. And then it's going to be like Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean? You're like, if you want to listen to this show, you got to go to this app. If you want to listen to this show, you got to go to this app.
You think it's bad for the industry? Or
yeah, I think it's bad for the consumer.
Yeah.
For the consumer, yeah. But like, when you got $100 million paycheck, you're like, you got a big ego, I feel like. You're not thinking about other people.
Yeah. So I don't fault the individual. I'm just saying, like, for the ecosystem that is podcasting, like the event is going to get there and it's going to suck, right? It's going to be super fried. It's already fried.
that is what made podcasting different, is that all of the platforms were kind of had the same content. Other platforms, like if YouTube's competing with a different platform, it's a whole different, like they don't leverage each other's content. But podcasting was like, if you're out there, you're out there. Everyone picks you up. So if it becomes a trend like that, it could get unfortunate. So
yeah, that's true. I mean, and you look at it too, like what's going to happen? Another industry, another platform is going to come up and do something different. And then it's like everyone's going to flock to that thing where it's a new open platform. And then it's going to kind of have the same kind of convolution, that's happening right now. Yeah. I think it's definitely bad for the consumer, but I don't know, like what happens to agencies who have a bunch of podcasts? Do they turn into networks now too and try and play that game, or what does that look like?
Yeah,
I think that, I don't know.
I like when I think about our business, like I don't really see myself wanting to play the agency game.
You mean the network game?
Oh, sorry, yeah. We're playing the agency game right now. The network game, yeah.
You did tell me this.
What do you think, Lewis?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some agencies do it where they do a bad job of it, first of all. But if you're big enough, then yeah, it makes sense. But also, like, I don't think it makes sense for most people. I mean, it's funny though, because like I'll get on calls with some people and they think I'm a network, and I'm like, no.
There's so many out there nowadays that more people have been talking to. Like Believe is a big one. I don't know if you've heard of it. And it always seems like a lot of the people in the networks are like they're uninformed, or they don't know what
it's a network.
Yeah. It's like they almost like, because everything's on the network to do everything because they're not paying for it, whatever. That they're always like wanting more. They're like,
I just read this morning that there was a network in the security niche. So like defense podcasts, like cybersecurity, all these types of shows. And they just got bought out by a big defense security company.
I'm pretty sure I was just talking to someone.
Yeah, apparently this company had been a network for like 14 years. Like, and they just had a bunch of shows like in this super targeted niche, and they just got bought out.
So they did unionize a lot of the big networks. I don't know if you heard about that, like Parcast and a lot of the, because like if Spotify is buying these networks, they wanted to. I don't know. I guess I don't know too much about unions, but it's just so like, hey, there's equality and gender rights and all this other stuff doesn't happen. So I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah.
How do you feel about presidents making podcasts? Bill Clinton's making one. That's why I saw he's making
Clinton.
One. And then Obama's wife has a big one, and
Clinton and his wife are coming out with 2 different podcasts.
Oh, Hillary. Oh man.
Yeah. The thing is, though, when they start podcasts,
I'll have to read those reviews. Probably get roasted.
Yeah. Like when they get started podcasts, though, they get they get paid so much money up front to just do it. Right. Yeah. It's not like they're like, oh, I'm going to start a podcast because I'm bored. It's like, no, because someone wrote me $100 million check and they put a mic in front of my mouth.
Yeah,
so
Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama. I don't know if you've listened to any of her episodes. Have you guys?
Mm-mm. Yeah. No, Arushi just read her book. Said it was awesome.
Oh, so cool. Yeah, she got a big paycheck. And she's signed to Spotify, I think.
Yeah, so. Spotify. Yeah, Spotify exclusive.
Yeah, it's turning into like, oh, I got a TV show. kind of the same, I guess, like same kind of deal. Now just an audio, and now they can run ads on it and probably make like 10x the money they paid that person for running ads on that thing. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see when more podcasters get like pitched by brands to actually like promote their stuff when they've got.
This is what happens when you have marketers following you. Someone said, Daxy, you liked your video on Facebook, year 2010 or new marketing? I was looking at the comments and I was like, I'll be the first like. I like being the first like on my post. Do you guys like your post?
I think it's douchey, so I say no. I don't do it.
Yeah, I can't do it, man.
do it. I have a huge ego. Like I feel like if you have the reason why I do it because when it doesn't have a like, it has less screen real estate. When you like it, it gives it a few more pixels.
Nah, man.
5 head.
Oh my god! Yeah, I'm just like the guy looking and like, who liked this? Who liked this? Oh, he liked his own damn picture. What an idiot! Scroll. Just like lost all credibility right there.
Oh man. Okay, so when you came in, we were talking about I was researching like different types of podcast or just even not only podcasts, just live stream like ideas, what people are doing. So we can talk about that. One thing I was saying is like PO box streams. This only works if you have a big audience, but like
PO
having a day where PO box. So like having a day where people send you stuff or you open it stuff on a stream.
Oh, live. Okay.
Yeah. I think another type of content people can do is going over specific tools.
Yeah.
I haven't done it a lot, but it's literally just one thing. I know, Ryan, on your YouTube channel, you do it a lot, right?
Yeah. The only reason I do it is because that's what people search.
Yeah. That's for search. For search, it's good.
Yeah. That's an easy one to do, definitely. I don't know. You guys ever tried this where it's like just takeovers, like a channel takeover? Like I haven't used it podcasting much, but I want to do it. Like where
if you have an audience, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be like mutually sized audience, though, right? Exactly. Like this person has to have a big audience, and this person has to have a big audience.
Someone that I'm interviewing soon, actually, he has like an audio drama type podcast, and he says he does that with someone else or with other people.
Well, they have like Wondery does feed drops. So I had a conversation.
Oh, that's what he did. He did a feed drop. He put.
Yeah, I had a conversation with Jordan Harbinger 2 months ago or so. And I was asking him how his feed drops were doing that he does with Wondery. Like, so basically they release an episode of Business Wars on his feed, and he releases an episode of the Jordan Harbinger show. And he says the worst conversion out of any of the advertising that he's done.
Oh man, that's so good to know. I guess do you feel like that's like a really far stretch in terms of audiences though?
Yeah. And he said that like, he got like a shit ton of comments. It was like, hey man, I hope this isn't going to be like a routine thing, like that you're just like spamming us with these shows that we don't want to listen to. And he was like, yeah, you got to tread really carefully.
Yeah.
If the audience isn't like a match for the content, I feel like that's pretty a far stretch.
It has to be a collaboration. It has to feel like it's still the thing. Well, depending on how far off it is. So.
Yeah. If it was like us, like, podcasting, you guys talk about podcasting, I talk about podcasting. It's kind of like, okay, same content, different person, right?
What are some average mistakes that new platforms make?
I would probably say having too long of an introduction.
Yeah, that's huge, man. That's a battle. I don't know if you face this, but like a lot of our clients want these like 2-minute long intros, and like we're having
like the pre-recorded one or for the episode?
Like the pre-recorded ones.
Oh yeah.
Or it's just like, even for me now, I'm like annoyed at 30 seconds. I'm like, shut up.
Yeah.
So,
we tell people 20 seconds. That's like the target. And even 20 seconds seems kind of long, but that's super quick. Like there's not much. You have to be like super concise in your message to get it into 20 seconds.
Yeah. Big time.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would agree. I think that's a big one.
I think it ruins immersion a little bit when you have to skip. You don't like it's nice when you start a podcast and you're just in it from the start. You don't have to skip it. Immersion is like a good thing to keep.
So I actually have been the past like 5 or 6 episodes of my podcast, I'm experimenting with not doing a pre-recorded intro at all. I'm doing it live on the thing. So I just kind of open it up. We fade the music in, and then I like naturally tailor it directly into the episode.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of like good podcasts. Like Alex Sharfin is a guy I like to model and look at like for what he's doing. He does that
long intro
live. Yeah, I know it's live. It's live though. I like that. So it's kind of different every single time.
Yeah.
But it is unique.
Cheesy.
It's almost like a battle cry.
Yeah. It's too. So I recommended it to somebody the other day and they're like, it's so cheesy, but he has good content. I'm like, yeah, good point. His outros are really good. I see people like, you should model, if you want to convert clients from your podcast, like model his outros and how he positions his content in relative to his offer.
Every time, man, he ties it in there perfectly. Yeah. Like if somehow, like if you want to do that, then come sign up here. If you want to do this, come sign up here.
Yeah, it's called the Momentum Podcast, guys. If you haven't heard it, but it's good. I mean, it's made me multiple times want to book a call.
The outro needs to be about 90% shorter. I mean, the intro needs to be about 90% shorter, but everything else is golden.
Yeah. Yeah. Skip that, double tap that skip button and you're good to go.
Yeah.
So the original question was actually platforms like podcast.
I know Castbox, they do a lot of stuff to like, they did live podcasting once. They had a feature like that. I mean, they do a lot of cool things and they're doing pretty good too. They got like,
I didn't tell you this, Ryan, and I don't know if you know about this company, Louis Fiesta.
Yes. No.
Someone we're working with. He's adding a feature so you can like live stream your podcast. It's pretty good back end, right, Ryan? Like as far as recording video and audio, but it allows you while you're recording to make highlights for points you want to later clip out and make snips of in the platform. And also he just added this in Amazon Alexa integration for flash briefings. So you can take those clips and make them flash briefings. And like a separate. Yeah, I thought it was pretty unique because flash briefings should be just clips. It shouldn't be like, or it should be like pieces. Yeah. It shouldn't be an episode.
No, I messed around with flash briefings and I just kind of lost it. Like I bought like a year subscription to this thing and got a couple on there, but like don't have the care or need to like.
You have to put a lot of like.
There's not enough demand on it for the work to get it on there.
Not right now. Heck no. Like I think it's like 3 years out. Like
maybe never. Maybe flash briefings never become a thing.
My guess would be never if I had to bet on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can't control it. Because it's like
so hard
my flash briefings and like it's just it can get like stuffy, I think.
Yeah, it's a really weird medium. We've tried.
It's not scalable too. Like if someone's only going to have like 2 or 3, they're not going to listen to one more every day.
Yeah. Yeah. If people listen to the same ones every day too, yeah, right. Like the news and something of interest to them, and that's about it. You know.
Cool. So I think that I don't really have much else to talk about. That was it. I mean, what podcast are you guys listening to?
Same stuff for me.
Same stuff. I've been listening to audiobooks.
What's that for you guys?
I listen to like a lot of Planet Money, Freakonomics. Those are like my regulars, and then I'll listen to like Momentum, Alex Sharfin's, and Traffic and Funnels.
Yeah, good. Those are. I have listened to all of those, but I should probably get back onto Freakonomics. I listen right now. There's like 2, like Marketing School and Daily Mind Map. Taylor Welch. Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Like shorter episode, higher frequency.
I freaking
thinking about doing
that. I can't do it.
What?
I just can't do it. I can't bring myself.
I think you could do it. I mean, it's just a same episode length. Just chop it up. Right?
Have you heard how they record those, Louis?
Yeah, it's like a long live stream. Like it's like 3 hours, and they're just kicking it, and then they just kind of, do it over again. Like the music.
Yeah, I was listening to Eric Sue on some interview, I think with Noah Kagan. I can't remember, and he said that like they just show up, they block off like 8 hours, like a whole day, and they literally don't even know what they're going to talk about. They just start talking, and then they wrap this one up and they're like, okay, let's just build off of that one. And they just keep building off. But they have no idea what they're going to talk about. They just record a whole month, 30 episodes at one time in one day.
You want to try that, Ryan?
That's nuts. Okay, so you guys heard this thing called podstorming?
No.
This is interesting. So I was like scrolling through LinkedIn one night, and you guys know who David Gearhart is? CMO of Privy. It's like an e-com company.
Yeah, I know Privy.
So he's a CMO. His podcast is really good. He's a really good podcaster. He was talking with this other dude, and they were talking about this thing called podstorming. Basically, what it is, kind of like what Neil Patel and Eric Sue have been doing for like last 5 years, which is do like a 30-day segment of mini episodes targeted around one specific topic that your audience loves, right? So it's like for us, it could be like equipment or like how to launch a podcast or whatever. And he said like it like doubled his audience. The dude who did it, like who was talking with David Gearhart. I was pretty interested, but I'm like, that's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of work.
A lot of YouTubers do that. Like when they make content, they batch like around one idea. They'll make a lot of episodes that kind of link all to each other.
That makes sense.
Yeah. No, I think it can be good for certain topics, certain niches. Like I don't think it would work for everything. Yeah. But no, it's good if you have that ability to put out that much content. Somebody else that does short stuff is Chris Galibu with Side Hustle School.
Oh yeah.
His are all short, and I mean his.
But is it higher frequency?
Yeah.
Like what? How many?
Daily.
Yeah. Have you seen the Robin Hood one? The minute snacks or the 1 minute snacks or something?
No, I saw that
it's top 10 podcasts.
Yeah, I saw it blew up.
Fresh Snacks or something, I think. I used to listen to it. It's just literally like 3-4 minute daily tech news but they talk about like investing and like, or stocks and what's doing good, but for a younger demo.
Yeah. I think for our like podcasting, you can talk about that stuff. You could do a really good job. Like, but I think you just got to get really tactical. Like, 3 ways to improve your mic technique.
Yeah. One thing we were talking about, I don't think you were on the call. We were talking about how 48% or 38% of listeners listen to improve their mood, and how since the pandemic, relationship podcasts have grown like 150%. Like people listening because they're lonely or because they want to mainly improve their mindset or how they feel about themselves. So that's something to consider. Like I think making it too like techie or too heady can sometimes like not
take away.
Yeah, it could take away for why people listen, So
oh yeah. For me, it's why I listen to Daily Mind Medicine, like highly like personal leadership, personal development, really good stuff. And then marketing school, it's kind of a good balance between like tactical and like personal development, business entrepreneurial stuff.
Yeah.
It balances me out.
Well, I think that's good. Appreciate you guys hopping on. Go follow Lewis on
Facebook. Just type in Luis Diaz, and I'll be like the 7th.
There's probably a lot of Luis Diaz. The 7th, you've calculated it?
No, I haven't.
Your SEO ranking on Facebook?
A keyword search. Yeah, keyword in the hell out of my profile. No, Luis Ryan Diaz. I'm the only one with a white middle name. That's why I know me.
You can shout out your podcast too if you want.
Podcast Domination Show.
Podcast Domination Show.
Got to have you guys back on there soon.
And then Ryan, Hustle Freedom.
Don't follow me anywhere. I'm super uninteresting and not somebody you want to keep up with.
Cool, bro. All right, guys. Peace out. And thanks for watching. See ya.
Peace.
Peace.